Henry Mancini was the first person ever to win a Grammy for Best Album of the Year. He was born Enrico Nicola Mancini in the Little Italy area of Cleveland, Ohio. But he was reared in a small town near Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. His dad made him take piccolo lessons, then piano lessons, and then he went to the Juilliard School of Music. In 1952, Henry Mancini went to work for Universal Pictures. He scored a lot of monster movies there, including The Creature from the Black Lagoon, It Came from Outer Space, Tarantula, and The Glenn Miller Story. Oh wait, The Glenn Miller Story wasn't a monster picture. He also scored Orson Welles' A Touch of Evil. In 1958, Mr. Mancini left Universal and went out on his own. This is when he recorded the theme to Peter Gunn. This was directed and produced by Blake Edwards, and he and Mr. Mancini would have quite the collaborative partnership in the coming years. Now, let's talk about Grammys. The Walk of Fame was laid down in the year 1958 with 8 prototypes. See my last segments if you want to know more about that. Now, the category of recording artists originally was going to have to be 1 million records sold or 250,000 albums sold. Now, the committee decided this would leave out a lot of important recording artists, so they nixed that. They also formed the National Academy of Recording Arts and Sciences, and this organization would do the Grammys in the year 1959 for the first time. That year, Henry Mancini won the Grammy for Best Album for Peter Gunn. In 1961, Henry Mancini won his first 2 Oscars for the film Breakfast at Tiffany's, Best Original Song and Best Score. That song would be Moon River. Moon River. In 1962, he scored the film Hatari, and that had the very famous, one of my favorites, The Baby Elephant Walk. 1963, he recorded his most famous theme song in Blake Edwards' The Pink Panther. So many recording artists have sung his songs that the list is huge, but a partial list would be Andy Williams, Perry Como, Stephen Eady, Johnny Mathis, Connie Francis, Herb Alpert, Percy Faith, Peggy Lee, Pat Boone, Liberace, Wayne Newton, Ray Conniff, the Lennon Sisters, and Arthur Fiedler and the Boston Pops. Whoosh! That's quite a list. Besides Blake Edwards, he has worked with so many directors. Some of that list includes Stanley Donen, Howard Hawks, Norman Jewison, Paul Newman, and Stanley Kramer, who, fun fact, Mr. Kramer happens to be the first star ever laid down in the Walk of Fame. Check out the past segments to hear more about that. In 1982, Mr. Mancini won his last and 4th Oscar for the film Victor Victoria. That was directed by Blake Edwards, and Blake Edwards' lovely wife, Julie Andrews, starred in that. He ended up recording over 90 albums in his career, and he had 72 Grammy nominations and 20 wins. This is Todd Pickering for Walk of Fame Wednesdays. I will see you next week in Hollywood.